b'ni musar avicha, va'al titosh torat imecha. Shema b'ni musar avicha, va'al titosh torat imecha. Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Morasha kehilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Morasha kehilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Morasha kehilat Yaakov.
Bruchim Abayim, welcome everybody. I'm delighted to greet you all on the occasion of Jake's Bar Mitzvah today. It is an honor for us all to escort Jake over the threshold into manhood. I would like to begin by paying tribute to Jake's parents, Deborah and Ross, and to all his family for raising such a fine man in our midst, and also for organizing this Bar Mitzvah despite the considerable challenges and last-minute tweaks that this has entailed. And now I would like to hand over to Ross, who will address us all.
Thank you, Rabbi Kester, and apologies in advance for any loud banging. We've literally just had some fireworks going off outside in the garden, so hopefully that won't disturb too much. Good afternoon, everyone. This is, for many reasons, a much tougher speech than I thought I would ever be making for Jake's Bar Mitzvah. Who could possibly have believed a year ago, when Jake first started his lessons, that we would be where we are today, in London, Boston, Toronto, and Israel, having a virtual celebration. As the year has gone on, we've had to pivot many times just to make sure we were able to give him the best possible experience. And so Deborah and I thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for joining us today. It really does mean the world. There are, of course, some very important thank yous to make before I go further. Firstly, to Mark for teaching not just Jake, but taking on the task of dealing with Rabbi too. Your patience is astounding, and I will certainly miss our hot ribena and cake catch-ups. Secondly, a huge thank you to Louise and Josh, who have given up their time today to manage this broadcast. Deborah and I are very grateful. We'd also like to thank Rabbi Kester, Stephen Goldman, and everyone at Edgware United for all your efforts, helping us get through the last 6 weeks or so. In this ever-changing world, we really do appreciate all you have done to be flexible under these circumstances. As you can imagine, we were feeling quite depressed about the whole situation last Saturday evening after Boris had once again thrown a spanner in the works. So it was quite something that by 9:30 that same evening, Rabbi Kester had already called me to reassure us that the synagogue would do all it could to help Jake Lane. Something we were so proud to see happen last Monday, and we're looking forward to hearing Jake again shortly. Before I go on, I must mention two very important people who I'm sure are breaking social distance rules to shlap some nachas together. Jake, I know how proud your grandma Greta would be of you, not just for today, but of the young man you have become. We know too how very much your grandpa Biz wanted to see you laying in shul, and whilst we're all so sad this could not be, we know he was watching down, humming along and bursting with pride. The fact he passed away so close to your birthday was devastating, but we were truly inspired by how you handled yourself and stayed strong for your brother and sister. Speaking of trouble, hello Emily, hello Rafi. Whenever we need a laugh, and let's face it, in these crazy times, who doesn't, you two always seem to be on hand to deliver. You are crazy, kind, noisy, and at times just plain bonkers. But we wouldn't have it any other way. Emily, it can't have been easy being locked down in a house with 3 men, but you more than hold your own. I've certainly enjoyed all the impromptu cuddles, so I'm not going to complain. We love your dedication to your sports. You've come so far in your trampolining and football, and we cannot wait until we're able to watch you compete again. Rafi, the cheekiest of all the chaps. You are a constant source of laughter. From the moment you wake up, you attack things at 100 miles an hour, with the volume to match the pace. You have such a zest for life, and we absolutely love that. We are so proud of you for learning an Nims Mirot, and while sad you weren't able to sing it in shul, we look forward to hearing it soon. Now to the main person, the one without whom we wouldn't be gathered here today. Deeks, you continue to astound me. Not only have you put up with me for nearly 20 years, but you've done it with a smile and a swagger too. You are the superglue that holds everything together, the organizer of the chaos, the keeper of the diary, and the maker of lists supreme. After all these years, I still cannot work out how you balance your 5-day-a-week job with a 24/7 role as emperor of our family. This year of all years, you have shown just how amazing you are. Once upon a time, we started with plan A for this mitzvah, and by this morning, I think we'd arrived at plan Y. And throughout everything, you didn't once falter. You took it in your stride, pivoting to the next idea, making the absolute best out of every situation. You are incredible, and I love you for it. And so to Jake, our big little man. Where do I begin? Our firstborn, our number 1 son. Should it be with your clumsiness and ability to fall over standing up? Or perhaps your inability to talk without shouting? No, of course not. I won't mention that your first response whenever you're asked where you put something you've lost is, I'm sure I put it in my bag, without ever actually checking first. Nor will I mention that your favourite response when asked to do a chore or put something away is, I don't want to. After all, we're here to celebrate what a remarkable young man you are. And remarkable you really are. I could go on and on about how many hours of fun we passed together, whether going to Spurs or heading to the cinema to watch Star Wars. I can't tell you how much I love having someone to chill with and watch all those Marvel films, and I'm really looking forward to the day when the cinemas open again. Watching you develop into a great goalkeeper and spending the last 5 years managing your team has been amazing. You started out with doubts in your mind, but your perseverance and hard work really paid off, and I love coming to watch your games. But there are 2 things of which Mummy and I are most proud. The first is your resilience. This year has been unlike any I can remember. It's been tough for everyone, but for you and your peers, it's been truly challenging. Having started in secondary school last September, you were only just beginning to find your way and make new friends when the pandemic struck. Before you knew it, your world was turning upside down, and you suddenly had to adapt to learning from home, shut away from all your friends. Your mum and I are so proud of your attitude and how you adapted to this new world. It would have been easy to let your work slip and not bother, but instead you took control and made sure you were on top of everything. Aside from resilience, you've also grown into a young man with a strong moral compass. From a young age, you've always shown a caring side and put others ahead of yourself. Whether it's sharing your sweets with your brother and sister or using pocket money to buy gifts for them or others, you always seem to know what the right thing to do was. That trait lives on, as up until recently, you would regularly spend your Friday afternoons visiting your great-grandmother at her care home, often with a gift of chocolate, something I know both she and her friends enjoyed so much. Jake, you've turned into a wonderful, tall young man, and your mum and I wish you only the very best as you move into this next chapter of your life. We know this is a slightly different weekend to the one we had all wanted. Thanks, Boris. But we hope you've still had a memorable time. All it remains for me to say is thank you again for watching. We cannot wait to see you all in person soon. And with that, we'll pass over to Jake, who's going to start his laning.
Before I start, I want to say to Rebecca and Chloe, I know you're out there with your phones about to film me. I'm going to put a copyright strike. So any voice cracks you want to try and film, not happening. Baruch Hu et Hashem, HaMevorach, Baruch Hashem, HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu Melech Haolam, Asher B'chabanu Mikol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu et Torato, Baruch Atah Hashem, Noten HaTorah. Vayhi Acharei Hadibarim Ha'ela, Vayigad Abraham Lemor, Hineh Yalda Milka Gam Hi, Banim Minacha Achicha, Et Ut B'chara Ve'et But Achiv, Ve'et Kemuel Lavi Yaram, Ve'et Kester Ve'et Chazor, Ve'et Budosh Ve'et Lav, Ve'et Betuel, Ubetuel Yalat Nerivka, Shurana Ela Yalda Milka, Minacha Achi Abraham, Ufila Shama Rima, Vatelet Gam Hi et Tevat Vegacham, Et Tachosh Ve'emacha. Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu Melech Haolam, Asher Natan Lanu Torah Temet, V'chei Olam Nata B'tocheinu, Baruch Atah Hashem, Noten HaTorah. Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu Melech Haolam, Asher Bacha B'midyayim Tovim, V'ratzah B'divrehem Anemarim B'emet. Baruch Atah Hashem, Habachev Atorah, B'Moshe Avdo, B'Yisrael Amo, B'Nvi'ei Hamet B'Tzedek. V'Isha Acha Minshei, V'nei Haviyim, Zahaka, and Elisha, Lemor, Abdecha Ishi, Me, V'Yatai Yadata, Ki Abdecha, Haya Yareh Adonai, V'ha Noseh, Ba, Lakachta, Et Shenei, Yeledai, Lo, Levadim, V'Yomer, Eleha Elisha, Ma Eselah, Hagedi Li, Ma Yishlach Babayet, V'Tomer, Ein, Zechatachachol Babayet, Ki Imasur Shaman, V'Yomer, Lechi Shalia Kelim, Mechachut, Me'ek Hoshachenoyeh, Kelim Reikim, Altamiti, Uvad, Sarkat Azelet, Badech, Uvad Vanayech, Vatsat, Agakelim Aela, Amaleh, Tasi, Vatelech, Meito, Vatishko Hadelet, Vada Uvad Baneha, Hey, Magishim Eleha, Vehi Mutsaket. Vayhi Kim Lord, Hakelim, Vatome Abna, Hagisha, Elayot Kelly, Vayome Eleha, Einot Kelly, V'Yamod HaShaman. Vatavo, Vasaket, Le'er Shalchem, Vayome, Lechi, Nichri et HaShaman, V'Shomi et Neshiach, Va'ad Vanayach, Tichi, Vanotah. Vayhi Hayom, Vayavo, Elisha, El Shunem, V'Son, Elisha Gadolah, Vatachazebo Lecholachem, Vayhi Nedei Avro, Yasur Shama Lecholachem. V'Tomer Elisha, Hinenai Yadati, Ki Ish Elohim Kadosh Hu, Over Aleinu Tamid. Nasen Ariatke, Katana, Benasim, Lo, Shah, Mita, Veshochan, Vechisem, Ra, Vaya, V'O Eleinu, Yasur Shama, Vahi Hayom, V'O Shama, Vayasa El Aliyah, Vayishkav Shama, Vayoma, Vagechazin, Aro, Kara, V'Shemet Hazot, Vayikala, Tamod Lefanav, Vayom Lo, Emanav, אליך, הנה חרט אלינו את כל החרדה הזאת, מה לעשות לך? היש לדבר לך אל המלך, או אל שר צבא, ותאמר, בתוך עמי אנוכי יושבת. ויאמר, ומה לעשות לך? ויאמר גחזי, אבל בן אלה ואישה זקן. ויאמר קולה, ויקולה, ותעמוד בפתח. ויאמר, למה בעת הזה, בעת חיה, את חובקת פן, ותאמר, אדוני איש אלוהים, אל תכזב בשבחתך. ותהי האישה ותלד בן, למה בעת הזה, בעת חיה, אשר דיבר אליך אלישע. וידע וילד, ויהי היום, ויצא אל אביו אל הקוצרים. ויאמר אל אביו ראשי ראשי, ויאמר אל הנער שאהו אל אמו. ויישאהו ויביאהו אל אמו, וישב על ברכך על הצהריים וימות. ותעל ותשכבהו על מיטת איש אלוהים, ותשכוב אותו ותצא. ותקרא אלישע ותאמר, שלחה נא לי אחד מן הנערים והחתנות וארוצה עד איש אלוהים ושבה. ויאמר, מדוע את הולכת אליו היום, לא חודש ולא שבת? ותאמר, שלום. ותחרוש חתון, ותאמר נערה נהג ולך, ותעשה לי לרקוב, כי אם אמרתי לך, ותלך, ותבוא אל איש אלוהים אל הכרמל, ויהי כרות איש אלוהים אותה מנגד. ויאמר וגחזי נערו, הנה אשר מת הלש. עשה רצנה לקראתה ואמרה, השלום לך, השלום לעשה, השלום ליולד. ותאמר שלום. ותבוא אל איש אלוהים אל ותחזק ברגליו, ויגש גחזי אל דפר. ויאמר איש אלוהים הקרא כי נפשה בורלה, ואדוני הנה ממני ולא הגיד לי. ותאמר, השאלתי ומאדוני, הלא אמרתי, לא תשך אותי. ויאמר לגחזי, חגו מתנך, וכך בשנתי בידך, ולך כי תמצא אש לא תברכנו, וכי יברכך אש לא תהננו, ושמת לשמתי על פני הנער. ותאמר אל הנער, אדוני, וכי נפשך מעזבך, ויקם וילך אחריה. וגחזי עבר לפניהם, וישם את המשענת על פני הנער, ואין קול ואין קשב, וישב לקראתו, ויגנו לאמור, לא הכית הנער. ויבוא אלישע ויצא בעיני הנער, ושב על מיטתו. ויבוא ויסגור הדלת בשניהם, ויתפלל אל אדוני. ויעל וישב על הילד, וישם פיו על פיו, ועיניו עיניו, וכפיו כפיו, ויקרא אליו. ויחם בשח הילד. וישב וילך בבית, אחר עיניו ואחר עיניו, ויעל ויקרא אליו. יזרע הנער שבעה פעמים, ויקח הנער את עיניו, ויקרא אל גחזי, ויאמר קרא אל השמנת הזאת, ויקראיה ותבוא אליו, ויאמר שאי בנך, ותבוא ותיפול לרגליו, ותשטחו ארצה, ותישא את בניו, ותצא. ברוך אתה השם אלוקינו מלך העולם שכל עולמים צדיק בחדרות הקל הנאמן המבעשה המדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק נאמן אתה הוא השם אלוקינו ונאמנים דבריך בדבר אחד מדבריך אחו וישרקם כי כה מלך נאמן רחמן אתה ברוך אתה השם הקל הנאמן בכל דבריו לכם על ציון כי היא בית חיינו לעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו ברוך אתה השם משמח ציון בבניה שמחנו עד השם אלוקינו ואליהו הנביא עבדך ובמלכות בית דוד משיחך במהרה יבוא ויגאלנו על גיסו ישב זו ולא לעוד אחרים את כבודו כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו שלא יכבה נרו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה השם מגן דוד על התורה על העבודה על הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו השם אלוקינו לקדושה ולמנוחה לכבוד לתפארת על הכל השם אלוקינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך יתברך שמך בפי כוחי תמיד לעולם ועד ברוך אתה השם מקדש השבת
Mazel Tov, Jake, and a big yishakar from us on all your beautiful leaning, maftir, and haftarah. I didn't think the fireworks would make their way inside, but evidently they did at the end, and you deserved every bit of it. You did us all and yourself very proud, and it's heartening to hear beautiful words of Torah being sung so well with your trademark energy and passion. I would now like to introduce Mark Sasson, who taught Jake, and will address him now.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Lister. Firstly, I'd like to wish a huge Mazel Tov to Deborah, Ross, Millie, Rafi, and not forgetting the man of the moment, Jake, and all of the extended family and friends on this very special and unique Bar Mitzvah celebration. My connection with the Grossman and Kester family goes back a long, long way. Firstly, with Deborah, we grew up together in the Holy Land of Kenton, and back in the day, were part of the vibrant Kenton Club social scene. Years later, Ali, my better half, became good friends with Ross in Manchester, and then years later were all part of the London Jewish social scene, spending many a Saturday night together, either clubbing at the Forum or Shoeless Joe's, or attending some other judo, then mingling outside Carmeli's into the early hours of Sunday morning. As families, the Kester and Sasson families have enjoyed some fabulous times together, whether it be holidays in Maidenhead, in Greece, in Spain, bumping into each other in Disney, trips to Cadbury's World, or partying together at the Broadfields 4 annual New Year's Eve celebrations. It was around a year ago that I started to teach Jake for his bar mitzvah. What I didn't realise was that as well as teaching Jake his portion, I got Rafi thrown in as well for good measure, who wanted to learn Anim Zamirot. Rafi, I'm looking forward to hearing you shortly. And just for the record, my first name is actually Mark. However, you can continue calling me Sass. Due to the various lockdown, rule of 6 restrictions, our lessons have taken place via Zoom, in your house, or even in your garden. For me, I always preferred coming round to you for lessons, as that meant I would be welcomed with a hot Ribena, a slice of cake, and more often than not, witnessing Ross lose his marbles with the football updates playing on TV. Jake, you've worked incredibly hard in preparing for your bar mitzvah, and the hard work you have put in has certainly paid off. Your laning in shul for your call-up on Monday was first class, even with the unusual circumstances of social distancing and PPE. You didn't let it faze you. And just now, we've all enjoyed your maftir and haftarah, which you did with accuracy and flair. Jake, you continue to be part of the Kester/Sasson family connection. In starting Yavne College, you would meet with my son Ollie, who would always be late at the meeting point, to travel on the bus together. With buses not the preferred mode of transport for now, you have secured your seat with Uber Ali Taxi Company. You've also joined Ollie in playing Sunday League football for Potter's Bar, where it's great to have you in goal and playing football with your friends. You're also probably the one who's convinced Ollie to join you as a Spurs supporter, something I know Ross takes great pride in. Jake, now you are bar mitzvah, you are no longer a sweet little boy, you are a fine young man. You take great pride in everything that you do, your friendships are an incredibly important part of your life, and you always make sure your hair looks point on super slick. You've not let the world's problems get to you, you've knuckled down and you've got on with it. Jake, to conclude, I hope the following words will inspire you over the years to come. Here goes. Reach for the stars. Climb every mountain high and reach for the stars. Follow your heart's desire and reach for the stars. And when that rainbow's shining over you, that's when your dreams will all come true. Once again, wishing you all Mazel Tov. L'chaim!
Thank you, Mark, for those lovely words, and l'chaim to you too. And now it falls to me to address Jake and the family. I must start with Mazel Tovs. To Deborah and Ross, to Amelie and Rafi, to all the family, including departed relatives who rejoin us in spirit for this wonderful simcha. We thank you for sharing your simcha with all of us, and we wish you many, many more simchas in future. Most of all, we wish Mazel Tov to you, Jake, on your bar mitzvah today. May this be the first step in a wonderful journey of discovery, of manhood, of life, of the Torah that explains them and charts the way to happiness and success in all that you do. Jake, you are a special boy. Your energy, talent, and golden heart has shone through since an early age, to the delight of all who know you. You are on the Sinai School Council, represented the school at football and tag rugby, and were deputy head boy in your final year. You also serve on the Junior Leadership Council in Yavne College. You're an all-rounder at sport, you take an interest in history and science, and can turn your hand to cooking and baking and eating. You are a fantastic big brother to Amelie and Rafi, a much-loved older cousin, and a wonderful son, grandson, and great-grandson. As we've already heard, this goes to the point of regularly visiting your great-grandma in Sidmar Lodge with a gift of chocolate in hand to chat both with her and the other residents. You're also a veteran fundraiser, having completed your first fundraiser, a 1K walk for Norwood, aged just 2. You've since completed various fun runs and bike rides, raising money for Macmillan, Magen David Adom, Camp Simcha, and more besides. As well as a heart of gold, you have a diamond mind. You excel in all your studies, especially science, And in Cheder, you were always sharp as a tack, to the point that on the rare occasions when you did not have an answer to a question, you could always wing it beautifully. And last week and today, your laning have been fantastic. You've risen to extra challenges of a bar mitzvah in lockdown with your customary energy and good grace, and you are the greater for this. Just how great your greatness is can be seen from a beautiful midrash about the story you read in your laning in Shul last Monday. We read later on in the Torah that the Jewish people left Egypt and wandered in the desert for 40 years before they reached the promised land. There were 600,000 men aged 20 to 60, meaning about 2 million people in all of them cast adrift in the Sinai desert. God help them. What were they to eat and drink? The Torah tells us that God provided them with manna from heaven and water from a rock. They lived on miracles for 40 years, and only when they were safely in the land of Israel did the miracles stop. Now, what did they do that made them deserve such great kindness from God for so very long? The Midrash answers that this was a reward not for them, but for Avraham. Remember, Jake, you read the story. Avraham brought food and drink for his visitors, running here and there to welcome them and give them what they needed, despite his age, despite the midday heat, and despite the fact that he just had his Brit, aged 99. Fired up by his own kind heart, Avraham performed miracles of kindness. So God paid him back with miracles of kindness 2 million times over, not once, but over 14,000 times for all those days in the desert, freely giving food and drink, just like their great-great-great-great-grandfather Avraham did. Do you see the result of Avraham's kindness and energy? He created miracles across a generation and sustained the nation at its most vulnerable point. That nation, our ancestors, later took possession of our homeland, a site of holiness which will one day be the focal point at the end of history, when, as the prophet Isaiah predicted, all the nations of the world will gather to learn Torah in Jerusalem. Do you see what potential you have, Jake? What goodness you can do? What a power you have? Now is the time to decide how to deploy your gifts for good. The Torah you have learned so carefully for this day is the roadmap to the full realization of all the amazing goodness inside you. And we proudly consign that Torah to your care this day, secure in the knowledge that it is in very good hands. Once again, we wish you and the family Yeshar Koach and Mazel Tov. But I'm not quite done yet. There are some gifts that we have for you from the shul. And I'd like to ask your parents to come forward now, or one of them. Whoever's going to do the gifts, is that your? I think that's, I got a something off screen there. Okay. So, Dad, could you do the Edgware United certificate first, please? If you got it there, brilliant. That's one on top. That is associate membership of our shul, awarded to you in recognition of your bar mitzvah this day. Stick that on your wall, and I hope it gives you happy memories of this time. You also have a twinning pack from Yad Vashem, which is the evidence of the fact that you have graciously consented to twin your bar mitzvah with Jacques Kerm, a young boy, Jewish boy who never made it to 13 because of the atrocities of the Holocaust. And he celebrates with you this day. Thanks once again to your kindness. And finally, a copy of Intergalactic Judaism. Mark mentioned before that you can reach for the stars, and I hope this book will help you to think more about what's out there and how it has a bearing on our lives. And I believe it has the author's signature inside. I got him to do that. So a big Mazel Tov from us all to you all. And now, Jake, it's your go. I'd like to invite you, our bar mitzvah boy, to address us all.
Hey everyone, I would like to kick this off by saying a big thank you to all of you for tuning in to my bar mitzvah reading. Before I go any further, I need to say a massive thank you to my bar mitzvah teacher, Mark Sasson. Thank you for all your support, making sure my laning and reading was up to scratch. And with any luck, The sections without any voice cracks sounded decent. I would also like to say a big thank you to Rabbi Lister for making Jewish study so much fun during our A sessions. And thanks for the cheesecake too. It was amazing. I'm twinning my mitzvah today with another boy who was sadly killed during the Holocaust before he could reach the mitzvah. His name was Jack Cohen, and he was born in Berlin. He was murdered in 1942 in Estonia and never had the chance to celebrate this special occasion with his family. So to Jack and all his family, Mazel Tov. I suppose it's time for some extra special thank yous. Who's next on the list? My wonderful parents. Disclaimer, all of the nice wholesome stuff you're about to hear was written under some serious level of duress. But seriously, you're the most brilliant parents I could ever have hoped for. Funny, caring, skillful, this list can go on forever. I almost forgot. Thanks for the driving rounds. Dad, I have to thank you for so many things. Creating a Spurs fan, getting me into Star Wars Avengers, my endless passion for foods, and not shouting at me too often. And yes, I know it's for the best, not that I would ever admit it to you. Mum, I know I said before about Dad shouting, but man, I hate being on your bad side. On a good note, that happens very rarely. I have so much to thank you for, such as getting me back into running and pushing me to improve my personal best, and keeping me, and all of us actually, organised. As well as that, with you, no homework lesson is too hard or too long to sit down and have a crack at. If it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't be here in my shining, slightly blue now, suit and shoes. Apart from anything else, you're always there for me. I suppose I should say something about my siblings, Rafi and Emily. You two are the craziest people I've ever met, and probably ever will meet. Emily, I was enjoying life being an only child and having toys to myself, and then suddenly you came along and changed my life. As far back as I can remember, you were never too fond of me, and I specifically remember feeding you your bottled milk one time, and you would just scream and scream and scream until Mum or Dad would come and take you. But apart from that, we've had loads of fun together, like building pillow forts, playing on the trampoline, or just watching TV. And no, Mum and Dad, we're not always watching TV. You're funny and kind on a good day, or on a bad day, you're just the biggest pain in the neck ever. Rafi. Where to begin with you? Well, I thought one sibling was enough, but apparently not. I remember coming home from school to see half the family crouched around the seat with a little red face poking out. Now, feeding you was a whole different story. Rather than screaming at me like Emily, you just decided one time, as I leaned down towards you, to bite me, right on the nose. Despite that, we've also had some amazing times, like shooting Nerf guns at each other, or me trying to teach you to play FIFA or Star Wars Battlefront on the PS4, which always ended in the same way, as you bet, and endless shouting of, I just can't do it! But otherwise, you're cute, funny, hungry, a lot, and completely and utterly bonkers. Or when you kept going around yelling, let's go, after watching Mario YouTube videos. I know that the three of us will continue to have amazing times together. I also have to make a shout out to Uber Ali for all the lifts and caring about you do for me and Ollie. You have a 5-star Uber rating from me. I think I shall conclude my speech here by yet again thanking you for joining me and my family on this special occasion. This was not the Sunday evening we'd all imagined a year ago, because if it were, we'd all be at a venue dancing the night away. However, I couldn't have imagined a better COVID-friendly mitzvah than this. I must again thank my parents for setting this all up and making these past few days the best of my life.
Thank you, Jake, for those lovely words. I'd now like to ask your parents to put their hands on your head, and I'm going to give you a bracha from myself, your parents, and indeed the whole community. Yesimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chimnashe, may God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. Yevarach Adonai v'yishmerecha, may God bless you and protect you. Ya'eh Adonai panav eilecha v'yichunecha, may God shine His face upon you and be kind to you. Yisa Adonai panav eilecha v'yasem lecha shalom, may God turn His face to you and give you peace. And that's the priestly blessing that will be with you, please God, for the rest of your life. And now I invite Rafi to sing Anim's Mirot. Rafi, you're on.
Anim Zamir, Vashirim Erog, Ki Elecha Nafshi Ta'arog, Midday Dabri, Be'echlodecha, Homeli, Be'eldodecha, Asaparacha Vodecha, Velo Ra'iticha, Hadamecha Chanecha, Velo Yadaticha, Gedilatecha, Gaveratecha, Kinilito, Kepilatecha, Himshilucha, Baro Hajonot, Hinacha Echad Belchodim Yonot, Zikna Beyom Din, Ivacharut Beyom Karab, Kaish Milchamot, Yadav Lorav, Talalei Orot, Rosha Nimla, Kavitsa Tabra Sisi Laila, Kesem Tahopaz, Demir Rosha, Rachak Al Metzrach Kavod Shankocha, Machlefot Rosha, Kavime Vechirot, Kavitsa Tav Talim Shacharot, Segela Totihi, Veyado Ateret, Etzlif Melucha, Safite Fereb, Ever Alai, a ferry Alav, the car of Elai, Bekari Yelav, Kashata Filin, Hebra Leanav, Timina Tadona, Lenegadainav, Rosh Tevacha Emet, Koreme Rosh, Dor Amdo Rosh Yachador, Tehilati Tehi, LeRoshacha Ateret, Etafilati, Te Conquertorat, Bechati Tala, LeRosh Mashber, Mahol Elimol Tadik Kabir, Ye'erabna, Sahia Lecha, Kina Shita, Rogelecha, Miyamalau, Geferot Adonai, Yashmi, Akota Hidato.
Shakaya! Thank you again, everyone, for joining us this afternoon for this celebration. It really does, as I said before, mean the world to us that we could share it with you in this virtual way. All that really remains for me to say is, Dan, thank you for the lectern. We didn't forget you. You're free to pick it up anytime you like. We've got a bit of clearing up to do. You may have noticed the blue powder flying out, so we're going to crack on with that shortly. But enjoy the rest of your evenings. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Simen Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Simen Tov. Simen Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Simen Tov. Simen Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Simen Tov. Yeah, hey lanu. Simen Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Simen Tov. Simen Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Simen Tov. Simen Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Simen Tov. Yeah, hey lanu.